So I guess it's time we should talk about these books here. As I was researching pecan pie, I read a lot of books, and I came across one book that I dismissed outright very early on because the writer just took the marketing message from Caro corn syrup and said Caro invented pecan pie in the 1930s. Immediately, I just discounted it. You've made a mistake. Your research has led you didn't do the right research, or you didn't research far enough, which is a problem. I see it all the time, and it's really hard. Research is really hard. Then I read a blog post by the author of that book where they kind of walked back what they had written in the book and said new information had come to light. They realized that they had written the wrong thing. And they had found mention of this cookbook called A Book of Famous Old New Orleans Recipes Used in the South for More than 200 Years. Not a lot of hyperbole in that in that title at all. And I said, I've got that book. In fact, I've got 3 copies of that book. I've got this little one, and then I've got these 2 larger ones, and they're falling apart. In their mea culpa, they said this book was published in 1900 because it says on the front, copyright 1900. My 2 copies just say copyright. They don't give a copyright date. And as I did research online of research libraries and universities that have copies of this, and also just looking through places like eBay and Etsy and Abe Books, copy after copy after copy after copy of this cookbook, exactly the same, with copyright 1900 written on the front. And I was like, what is going on? This is not from 1900. And what gives it away is, first off, this plastic spiral binding doesn't exist prior to the mid-1950s. The company that published it and printed it doesn't exist before 1959. And I've got this cookbook, same title, same pictures on the front, same picture on the back, completely different recipes inside, and it's published in 1930. So I do a bunch of digging, and I figure out that this printing company buys the IP of this company and relaunches this book in the 1960s as a souvenir book, as a book that is sold at gift shops, souvenir shops, historical sites, places where they can pull on the heartstrings of the nostalgia of the olden days. But the book is a complete lie. All of the recipes inside this book are 1950s recipes. They use 1950s ingredients. They use 1950s technology. There's photographs, well, not photographs, but line drawings in here, especially the ones in the drinks section that you will recognize from a cocktail book that I use on the Cocktails After Dark show. That was published in the late 1950s, and those line drawings were done specifically for that book in the late 1950s. So they've just ripped off stuff all over the place, put it in a book, made tons of money selling it. And they've also tell you in the back that if you can't find certain ingredients, of course, the ingredients that are branded by them, you can write to them and they will ship them to you for a fee. So this is not from 1900. The pecan pie recipe that was found in this book that she then cites as saying that it's the originator is not a recipe from 1900. It's not a recipe from even 1950. It's from 1960. I know that this book is the real book, and there's a whole bunch of reasons that I know that this is the real book. The line drawings that are on it are signed by the artist, done in 1928, which lets me know that this book was not from 1900 because the line drawing wasn't made until 1928, and the place that they're drawing, in this case, which is also found in here, didn't take on this name until 1925. Prior to 1925, it was called something else. So I know that this book is a lie, and this book doesn't have a pecan pie in it at all.